Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Christmas edition 2023 of Collecting Canadian Cavalry and Armour. I've got my wonderful Cougar Christmas shirt on. So, today, what we're going to talk about is kind of an interesting facet of collecting tank stuff. And that is the First World War China tanks. Now, these are really cool things to collect. They're very delicate. And these things were produced toward the end of World War One to help raise money for the war effort, and they were made up until I think the last ones in the very early 20s. So it was only a small window of opportunity, but many different companies got involved in making these things. Now they didn't only make tanks; they made armored cars, zeppelins, anything to do with the war. But of course, this being a tanker's, cavalry and armor station, we're going to stick to the cool stuff. So, reference materials. We have a couple of really good books. And you know me, right now I'm all about the reference material, guys. So we have Goss, which was one of the big manufacturers in England at the time. So there's a whole book on the stuff that they produced. And then we have this wonderful book, Take Me Back to Dear Old Blighty, and it covers all of the First World War era China and porcelain figurines, tanks, all that stuff. Excellent books if you want to get into this kind of stuff. And this kind of makes a really neat kind of part to your collection. I would highly recommend tracking down these books. I think I got mine on Amazon. Anyway, then they weren't really expensive, surprisingly. So, we'll take a quick look at some of these different tanks, some of the different maker marks on there, some other neat little things. We're going to do a couple of neat whiskey decanters, one-track mind, you think. And not that they're part of this porcelain collection, but they are China, and it's kind of neat. As well as a very cool teapot. You know the Brits and their tea. So, let's take a good look at this. So guys, like I was saying, First World War, the China industry in England was flourishing, and they'd make all kinds of stuff, thimbles, all kinds of stuff. So when the war broke out, and some of these really neat machines started, aircraft, zeppelins, that kind of thing, they started producing that type of thing for collectors as well. So what we have here is a small selection of First World War tanks. These China tanks with the rear road wheels are the Mark I tank that was first used in the Battle of Flers in 1915. Now you can see down here is where the maker mark is. And there's quite a few companies that manufactured these things. So we have different manufacturers. Here's a different one here. Again, a Mark I tank. You'll notice on most of these that they have the coat of arms of the different towns and villages that were visited. You see two different ones here. Okay, and again, this is a different maker's mark under here. Okay, we've got them there. And these are the Mark I tanks that have the road wheels. Now, the rarest of the Mark I tanks only has one road wheel. The story behind that is the guy that developed the molds for the first tank saw a picture in, it was like the Daily Mail or whatever it was over in England, and the photo that they used, or the drawing that they used, he could only see one road wheel, the other apparently being blown off in combat, but he didn't know that. So what they ended up doing is having one road wheel. So those are the most hard to find of the Mark I tanks. Then they moved on and started to do the Mark IV. And we have a couple of different examples here. You'll see the Mark IV has no road wheels, a little bit longer, configured a little bit differently. And again, we still have the different coats of arms of the villages that were visited, and the maker's mark on the back. So you can track all these maker's marks down, see where the companies were. So we have different sizes. We've got the bigger one here, with maker's mark. And compared to another Mark IV, it's a little bit smaller. but they're kind of neat. You know, you find these things, you find a lot of them on eBay. You can find them as cheap as maybe 12 to 20 bucks, and some guys want as high as, you know, $100 for them. I wouldn't pay that much for it, but that's just me, maybe because I'm a cheapskate. And again, we have, you know, different manufacturers, different coats of arms. Sometimes you're here, sometimes you're on the top. So it makes a nice variety of things to collect. Now, they also did stuff like the old Mills bomb. I just picked this up because I thought it was kind of neat to have a porcelain hand grenade. So, kind of neat. Now, something else that they started to do, this apparently is supposed to be an armored car. Now, you see the top has a nice rounded turret like some of the armored cars had it back in the day, but it's got the tracks. This is a very early attempt at an armored car. Eventually, they come out with these ones, which is a real armored car, very well done, the spare tire on the back. Now, this one got out of the factory without being crusted. Fortunate to have it in my collection. Now, if you're somebody that's going to ship some of these, make sure that you pack it properly, because it's what happens when you get one in the mail that hasn't been packed properly. You get a chance to try to repair these things. I'm not sure if I'm going to try that or not. I don't think I'm skilled. Now, got a couple other neat. Oh, wait a minute. We forgot the old FT-17. Doesn't look happy, does he? Anyway, you have the nice FT-17, nice maker mark on the back, and again with the crest here. But this is a decent rendition of the French FT-17, the first of the real modern tanks that had a fighting compartment separated from the engine compartment in the rear. Now, speaking of the FT-17s, fortunate enough to pick up some really cool FT-17 salt and pepper shakers. Right? Kind of little neat little things. No, I don't have salt and pepper on them, but they look good in my collection. Now, we also have glass tank candy dishes. They used to have little round candies in here. And here's another one that you see every once in a while, kind of stylized with two cannons on there. This one still has some of the candy inside, which is kind of neat when you pick these things up with the information of the manufacturer right there. So these are kind of cool little things that you can pick up. They're relatively inexpensive. You're going to probably, you know, with shipping from Britain, you should, you know, like under 80, 100 bucks. But they're really neat and they look great in your collection. Now let's take a look at something a little bit bigger. Now it's time to look at something a little bit bigger. In the center here, we have a very interesting First World War tank. Probably, you know, maybe a Mark I, Mark IV. They look very similar. Teapot. You have room here for the tea. On the top, you have the tank commander. I think this is supposed to be Old Bill. A lot of cartoons done by a guy named, I believe it's Barnsworth. Had a whole series of cartoons with Old Bill, the seasoned vet in the trenches. And they've come out with a lot of very interesting Old Bill stuff, and I believe this is one of them. Now on the bottom here, we have not really a decent maker's mark. I'm really going to have to try to decipher this, but frankly, I haven't had time between the knee replacement and all this other stuff going on. But anyway, this is a very interesting addition to your collection. I mean, how cool is this? Now, you've probably bumped into these other things on the shorts anyway. We have a really nice china or porcelain decanter for whiskey. Pop the turret off. No whiskey. It's funny how I've done more about whiskey decanters than I have about tea. Anyway, so it's a beautiful rendition of the M4A2E8 version of the Sherman tank. The last version that came out with the high velocity 75 on there. Really nice addition to your collection. And here, I just got this came out of the Ukraine. So perhaps it's whiskey, perhaps it's vodka. I don't know. You have a really nice decanter here of a T32, T34, I'm sorry. Must be the pain meds. Beautiful rendition. And again, it's China. And again, a wonderful but neat little thing to add to your collection. If you want something a little bit different, between uniforms, badges, helmets, all this other stuff. So some of this China stuff, still tank related, and it's just kind of new, kind of neat. Nice, interesting conversation pieces. So anyway, guys, this is a facet of some of the stuff that I collect that I just finds a nice accent to all of the other stuff that I have. And I hope you enjoyed it. Okay, so I hope everybody kind of enjoyed this episode. Hope you learned a little bit more about some other tank-related souvenirs. And like I said, the nice thing is you have a small china cabinet or curio cabinet. You can put them out, display them, and they're very interesting conversation pieces, if nothing else. And a wonderful piece of early tank history. And tanks are awesome. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Merry Christmas. I hope you guys got lots of good reference books, good badges, and all that other stuff. Help out your collection. Anyway, happy collecting.